Okay, so what if Link was somehow able to get the Triforce, the whole Triforce, in Ocarina of Time? If Ocarina of Time's prototype data tells us that it was acquirable at some point, as well as a lot of other content. Now, here's the thing. As far as prototype data goes, we can't answer that question yet. We don't know everything. But what we do know is that, at least in the final version of Ocarina of Time, that the way the story goes. So this is what we know so far. So if Link were to get the Triforce, it would have changed the story depending on when he would have got it and what would have happened. See, in the final version of Ocarina of Time, what happened was Ganondorf got the Triforce first, but it split. And so it split into different parts. So you had Ganondorf had the Triforce of Power, Link got the Triforce of Courage, and Zelda had the Triforce of Wisdom, because they were destined for that. So they're all gods, basically, in a way. So Ganondorf tried to get the other two pieces, because this is really the best way you can do it, but he couldn't get them because he couldn't beat Link or Zelda at that point. So he ended up losing it, and then, well, he ended up losing his chance, got sealed away, and then after Ocarina of Time, that Ganondorf went into Twilight Princess and possibly Wind Waker 2. But even in Wind Waker, the Triforce is still split. You don't see Ganondorf getting his hands on it until the end, but he forgets to touch it before the king, and the king gets to make the wish. So Ganondorf did all the work getting it to come back together, but, you know. But what's weird, though, as far as Ocarina of Time goes, is when Ocarina of Time ends, even before you consider whatever timeline you want to go to next, you know, Link goes back 7 years, and he still has the Triforce of Courage, and Zelda still has Wisdom, and Ganondorf obviously still has the Triforce of Power years later. So somehow they were sent back to a scenario where the Triforce still was divided, and they all knew what was going to happen next, sort of. So it's interesting how that works. Obviously, the Triforce is the power of the gods, so even if there is some sort of a weird contradiction somewhere, it can defy all laws of expectation. So they basically can create like some weird supernatural power, and it could still make sense somehow. Ocarina of Time is, you know, it was supposed to be different, but it does make you wonder like how much different it was supposed to be. Timeline wise, I still do think the story would have been the same, but just a lot different, though, as far as how much more content they would have put in the games. The temples still would have been there, but just how much different would the temples have been towards the story and lore. Link still would have got a Master Sword, probably would have slept for 7 years. Again, and then spend the rest of the game trying to stop Ganondorf somehow. Or even, not even just that, but like trying to find out lore-wise, like what was the Sacred Realm and what happened between the past, present, and future. Gerudo Valley, Hyrule Field, and just the Hylians in general, the Shikins, and like the Temple of Time. You could also talk about like the dungeons themselves, you know, the forest, the fire, the water, the shadow, the light, you know, if there was a light temple, the spirit temple. What was really going on there that we didn't see? A lot of stuff. So what could it have done with the Triforce? Maybe we understand, you know, is it possible the Triforce was more powerful than the gods themselves? You know, even just the 3 goddesses that created it. We don't know. But at the same time, we do know that Link is a god, though, somehow. So if that is the case, you know, how much more powerful can Link really have been? And what happened to, and here's another good question. Does Link still have the Triforce of Courage when he goes in the Majora's Mask? I think he does, doesn't he? I have to double check that. But, yeah, I think he does. It makes sense. But, you know, it's interesting to think, like, how many weird examples that Link runs into of, like, it's like his bizarre adventures. You know, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, but with Link instead. You know, Link's always, seeing things that most people don't. He's confronted with opportunities and perils that defy all expectations of what life is, that's right in front of him. Supernatural, evil spirits, and even more stuff. But he's destined to be more than a mortal, though. He's like a silent light that shines from the shadows. He brings a balance to the world, but he's working for like a secret society somewhere far beyond the stars. Perhaps maybe he is that creator. Who knows? But he's more than what he seems.